of a Monday, a 2-hour NBA DFS conversation, taking y'all straight up the lock. Dean 7904, if you want to get all technical, that is the daily fantasy handle. Joined today by TJ Zwarich. We know he's the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. What's up, TJ? How was your weekend? How are things in your world?
Weekend was good. Things in my world are going very well. I'm excited for tonight. I have Agents of Fandom's second annual Marvel Madness draft, where people throughout the industry and like the film and TV industry, we all get together on a Zoom, have some drinks, draft superheroes into our own little teams, and then put them in a bracket for people to vote on Twitter and Instagram each day to kind of basically vote on like which team would win in a fight. And so our own producer, Rob Coakley, is going to be joining us. And we're going to have a lot of fun. I'm excited.
Was my invite lost to somewhere in the spam? I might just being presumptuous here. I didn't see it. I can't imagine I just wasn't invited.
If we have like you'll definitely be invited to the Apple TV verse draft, where we're drafting Ted Lasso characters, shrinking characters. We were just talking a little bit off air. That show is phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm late to the party on Shrinking. Several people have told me it's really, really good. Finally hit it up this weekend, and it's like half-hour episodes. You can fly through it pretty quickly. Fabulous. Harrison Ford is like the most likable curmudgeon. The cast is awesome. Jason Segel does a great job of playing like depressed. We've seen him do that before several times. Jessica Williams from The Daily Show is fabulous. The daughter.
Turns out that Roy Kent is not just a heck of a football player, but a heck of a writer as well.
Yeah, well, it's the same team, right? Goldstein and Lawrence. I believe both of them are associated with Ted Lasso. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And the Roy Kent character, famously, that was a writer, and he eventually said, like, I think I could play this character better than everybody else, and like I think this is his first acting gig. I don't know if he ever was a serious actor or whatever, but yeah, that's the origin. Go ahead.
He might get selected in tonight's Marvel Madness draft as he plays Hercules in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't realize. But before Ted Lasso, he wasn't really a well-known actor, correct? He was mainly just
not that I know of. I have no idea. He could be. I'm not sure. I can't confirm or deny.
Who's the 1-1 in the Marvel draft? You can't give that away. Is that too much to? Is there a super obvious, like clear, like this is like the Jokic play or the Giannis play, and that's that?
There's honestly not. There was last year, and since more movies have come out, I think there's kind of like a big couple you could select. We also made it so that there's categories you got to fill. You got to have a team leader, you got to have an earthbound hero, a spacebound hero, and a wild card that could be a villain, or it can be a double up on a category, whatever you want. And so my guess would either be Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, or Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror.
Is this because of position scarcity?
No, more just due to ability.
The chat's chiming in. What's up, chat? We'll get to basketball in a second. We got a 6-gamer, plenty of time to knock it out. Crunch time crew comes in 6:15 or so. Y'all get Andy Means, you get Kevin Roth, and you get Tim as well. Apparently, Magneto should be high up according to B Shot there. Let the chat, let him know. Give TJ some pointers. Who should he be drafting for his draft tonight?
Magneto is how it's pronounced.
Oh boy.
That's fine.
One of the I just added myself.
Comic book villains of all time. That's tough, Dean. That's why you weren't invited. That's why your invite got lost in the mail.
I'm easy money though. I'm a lame duck, man. You can crush me. I don't know what I'm doing.
He's not even eligible though, because this is just Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So we're talking Iron Man and beyond, and not the Fox and Sony stuff. So not the X-Men stuff.
Yeah, I was going to point that out too, but I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to be seen as a snob.
That's fair.
That's
fair.
I didn't want to Will actually the guy. Yeah, is the Hulk available? The Hulk seems like a pretty good draft pick.
The Hulk is available. The Hulk will be a first-round pick for sure. There's 20 people in the draft, and there's 4 rounds, so like there's going to be over 80 people picked.
Hoosiers Hang Banners is talking about. Let's see, Fellowship of the Ring. Does that have to do with Lord of the Rings? I despise that movie. So bad. I lost a bet and I was forced to watch it. And it was like the 3 most miserable hours of my life. but that's a show right now. Isn't that the show like on Amazon? Is that like a spinoff or something? Am I making this up?
Ring of Power is a show on Amazon. Yeah.
There you go.
And they actually are going to be making. It sounds like they're going to be making more Lord of the Rings movies.
Jean Grey. It's Jean Grey and not John Grey. I think. I don't know. Is that?
It is Jean Grey. That's correct.
There you go. Of course it is. But all right. Hey, tonight we're monitoring some injuries, a lot of body parts this time of year as far as the season. What do we have? I think 3 weeks left, I want to say officially. The season ends on a Sunday. So yeah, I think it's 3 weeks from yesterday. And then the playoffs are going to be a good time for sure. About 9-10 games left for the teams in the association as far as body parts we're monitoring tonight. There are some big ones. We're assuming has Luka been officially ruled out? I think he has, right? I know they said he was basically doubtful. Kyrie has that foot. He's questionable. Anthony Edwards looks like that they're talking about him being like a fake questionable. It seems very likely he's not going to play. Minnesota does have incentive. Like they are theoretically battling for the right to get beat by Denver in the first round or something like that to get themselves a playoff spot. But so they want to win theoretically. But it's easy within a walking boot.
Don't count Minnesota out in playoffs if they get the Sacramento Kings in the first round or something like that, or the Memphis Grizzlies in the first round. They could end up winning their first round matchup with Towns back. I
guess. Yeah. I mean, I suppose. I'm not really optimistic at Minnesota as a general thought, but I guess it's possible. Yeah, so Edwards is questionable. Towns, they're just so bad. Minnesota's become like the Heat now as far as injury reporting. I don't know if it's like a clerical error, but Rudy Gobert just every single game is a questionable and every game he plays. Is nobody on top of this? Does nobody care? He's got that ankle and, the same rules apply. If he doesn't go, Reed goes, but I assume that Gobert is going to keep playing. Midday downgrade back-to-back too. Back half of back-to-back for Houston for Alperen Şengün. He's not playing basketball tonight. You mentioned the Kings. Kevin Huerter's got that knee. He's missed a couple of games. Maybe we'll see him come back tonight. Triple J has a calf. If he doesn't go like Santi Aldama season, Tillman season, that'll be interesting as well. Lauri Markkanen out for Utah as well. Anything else as far as big picture? Benedict Matherin's got that ankle. He's questionable. I don't think that matters too much. Duarte questionable too. We'll talk about that Indiana game first, I believe. What else are you monitoring? What else has your eye as far as big picture when it comes to this slate?
So I felt like I had a decent idea of most of this stuff. And then the Houston news came out with the Şengün being downgraded to questionable, Jalen Green being downgraded to questionable. Obviously, the Kyrie Irving one is a big one, but I feel like he's going to play. Anthony Edwards is questionable, but I feel like he isn't. Jaren Jackson Jr., Rudy Gobert is questionable, but I think he's going to play. He's been questionable every night. Jaren Jackson Jr. is somebody I really don't know, and that's a really big one because obviously with Ja Morant out, if Jaren Jackson Jr. is out as well, we have so much potential value with Memphis. And then Jalen Green and Şengün, those are huge as well because it would open up a potential plethora. That's a nice alliteration, a potential plethora of plays we can utilize in that game. And so that one's a big one. Don't really care about Tim Hardaway Jr. If Tim Hardaway Jr. and Kyrie Irving are out, that's obviously a bigger deal, but I care more about Kyrie Irving than I do about THJ. But Kevin Huerter is actually a pretty big deal as well because Malik Monk, Terrence Davis would become strong plays in that situation. So yeah, definitely stuff I want to keep my eyes on. If Caruso is out, there might be some punts for Chicago available. And then if Mathurin is in, who I think he is going to be in, then that's fine. He's a decent play. I don't really care.
I want to see if we're getting updates because let's see. I ran this about a half hour ago. Our last update in lineup HQ for projections was 3:30. I don't know if we've had news drops since then. Maybe they were tinkering with some things. Let's see if we got an update projection wise. No, we still have projections as of 3:30. Ownership as of 5 o'clock, and of course this stuff will be changed on the fly. But just running some optimals, not putting any limits on certain number of players on a team. The number one optimal right now on DK has 4 Hornets, which seems like too many for me. But we'll talk about them. Of course, they're going to be popular. Good matchup against Indiana. 2 Rockets as well. 1 Şengün being up in the air, kind of questionable right now, and I'm kind of I don't know. I'm not on Şengün tonight. As somebody who loves playing Şengün, I'm not really playing him. We'll talk about him soon enough. Is that the case with the next one? Yeah, the next one's got 2 T-Wolves. And for what it's worth, by the way, our projection team did take a stand. And typically when a player is questionable, they will put them in. They will lean on that. But they are taking a stand that Edwards is out. So understand this stuff will change. Like we're seeing Taurean Prince hit some optimals. If Edwards is in, Prince would fall back a little bit. Other players would fall back a little bit. Obviously, tons of usage would be soaked up by Edwards if he's unavailable. More to disperse. So we have him out as of right now. Fanduel-wise, as far as their optimals, I built some there too, 139. I capped it at 77%. Nobody hit the cap. But Taurean Prince, again, under the assumption that Edwards is out. I don't like Taurean Prince as a chalk play, for the record. I love the Tyus Jones play, who's the next guy. This is his last time. Last showcase game and a good matchup here against Dallas. The rumor is now that, speculation, or basically the report is, that Ja will be good to go to come back. He's dealing with conditioning now on Wednesday. So Tyus will go back to being the backup point, essentially. This is the last showcase game for Tyus Jones. I think he's going to have himself a good game tonight, so I like him a good bit. What do you think of Taurean Prince's chalk, by the way? He's the number one guy on DK, and again, I understand it. He should elevate if Edwards is out. But, I mean, is Taurean Prince really going to be the guy that ruins my night? I don't think so.
I think Taurean Prince will probably be a guy that we want to play a decent amount of if certain news doesn't break our way. But with the potential for this Houston value and Memphis value, I can't imagine I get all that much of him. We basically saw a floor game from him last game. He played the minutes. He shot like crap. I think he's fine, but definitely somebody that if he's going to be chalky, I'd be good with playing in cash games and in tournaments looking to get underweight on.
Yeah, the chat's not very thrilled with the prospect of playing Prince as well. Dude is absolutely awful. Are you serious about Prince? I'm serious. Yeah, I mean, this is the projections. These are median projections. Am I saying it wrong? Is it Tori? Is it
Torian? Torian.
Huh.
Torian. Yeah.
What was I calling it? Taurean?
Yeah. Derek Ringering in chat is saying if TJ recommends Eason again, I might have to take my life back. Well, guess what? You should everybody should hit the like button anyways, because it's the easiest thing to do and it helps make this content better. Gets us allowed to do more free giveaways. It gets us better exposure, allows us to grow. But guess what? If Şengün is out, I'm going to have so much Tari Eason today. I'm going to have probably 20% of them even if Şengün's in. But if Şengün is out, oh my goodness, I'm going to have probably 70% of them today.
Yeah, well, I think the field's going to be on it as well. Do we have a what if as far as if Şengün is out? I was digging into like previous games, Golden State against Houston. This is the 4th time they're meeting. And Şengün, all 3 games, has not been good. And just kind of using your brain hole, it's like Şengün does not feel like a guy like it that can thrive against Golden State, you know, in that kind of pace. It feels more like a Tari Eason game, and Eason's been better than Şengün per minute. It's a back half of a back-to-back. He's also not feeling well. So I'm not on Şengün today. If some props come out, I'm probably going to hit some of his unders. Of course, if that if that goes the other way. Landon in chat saying Şengün when I core plays today. I always like Şengün, but not today. I don't think I'm there. And also Looney is questionable, and Looney plays. Yeah, I assume he's going to play because he always plays, right? He's got that consecutive game streak going. But if he's out, this game's going to go small. And again, I just don't know how much Şengün gets out there. There's been some blowouts too in previous games, but I feel like he hasn't played more than like 24 minutes against Golden State this season. Don't quote me on that, but that's what if I remember correctly, I was pulling it up earlier. It wasn't good. He hasn't been good against them all season long. Anything else of note that, let's see, Mr. Richard in chat's talking about Fontecchio. Yeah, we'll dig into that as far as Utah. That's kind of a big one. Fontecchio is a big, but basically he's going to shoot his threes. No Lauri Markkanen, no Jordan Clarkson, no Colin Sexton. Matchup against Sacramento. That is, I believe that's the late night hammer, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Utah pretty thin today. Fontecchio probably draws the start next to Agbaji, THT. I can get Fontecchio and Agbaji, but I can't get Prince's name correct. Walker Kessler and Kelly O. And Chris Dunn all of a sudden is back in our lives as well. Anything else we should sort of note here? By the way, Prince, somebody was saying comparing him to Tony Snell. I mean, come on. It's a little bit of an insult. Prince on the season is 0.71 DK, 0.89 Fanduel. A good stocks guy is kind of the tell there. Better on Fanduel. 0.71 on DK. Not amazing, not great, but that's not Tony Snell. 16% usage, not jumping off the table, obviously, as far as taking a bunch of shots. We got anything else here? Moving on, starting it up.
Let's move it on. Let's start it up with the first game on the slate. I'm going to monologue banter a little bit here, tell people to hit the like button and such while I tell you maybe to close a couple tabs because you're starting to get a little bit choppy, a little bit mechanical. So if you have some tabs open, maybe give them a close if you can. But yeah, I'm excited for this one because it's only 6 games, but we still have so much news we're waiting on, and it's going to be very impactful news. This first game of the night with Indiana and Charlotte is going to be one of the biggest places we're looking to go of the night. And then obviously the late night hammer with Utah as well. As it stands right now, just without even this news that we're waiting on, I want to have at least one Charlotte player and at least 2 Utah players in every single lineup I play. So going to be getting a lot of exposure to the first game of the night and the last game of the night.
Regardless. So I'm happy to go Indiana, Charlotte first if you want, but I generally go by the RotoGrinders lineup page, and they're both at 7 o'clock. Indiana, Charlotte, Chicago, Philly, also 7 o'clock. But sure, we will talk about Indiana and Charlotte first.
That's the way that I go on the RotoGrinders lineup page too. It's first for me.
Are you sure? Huh. That's weird.
Yeah.
I'm going to drop this link in the chat.
And
that's so weird. Does it come up different for different people? I don't know why it would be like that. If it is different for FanDuel, do you have it on FanDuel or DraftKings?
Kind of seems like we have lost Dean. Hopefully we'll be able to get him back here quick, but I guess I'm going to fire things up with Indiana and Charlotte. 118 total for Indiana, 116 total for Charlotte. 2-point spread, close game, huge total, second biggest total of the night. Definitely a game that we're going to be getting a lot of exposure to.
You don't see or hear me, TJ? I don't think I went anywhere.
Now we hear you again.
I think this might be on your end. I don't know. According to the chat, I've been here the whole time, TJ. Maybe you're gonna fall out or something. I'm not sure what's going on, but whatever. We'll power through. Hopefully that was a weird little hiccup, but not sure. I think I'm here, and I think I've been here the whole time. We did talk about let's talk about the Charlotte, Indiana. That's where we're going with first, I assume. Yes, that's what we're doing. 234 is the total. Indiana and Charlotte. Charlotte is a 2-point.
We lost TJ.
There you go. Well, how outrageous! He's like throwing me under the bus. Unbelievable. That's typical TJ. Hopefully he'll come back soon enough. I shouldn't insult him too much because then maybe he won't come back. But TJ, come back. Let's do the Austin Powers Dr. Evil. Come on. Drop that gift for the people, Steve. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so Indiana and Charlotte. Hopefully we'll get TJ back in a second. Otherwise, I'll be talking to Steve. We're talking to the chat for the next hour or so. 234 the total. Indiana and Charlotte body parts. Who's in and who's out? We have for the Hornets, pretty standard. Nothing really new here. Just they're popping because the matchup's good and the prices are pretty solid as well. No Mark Williams, no LaMelo, of course. He's done for the year. Cody Martin, he's not here as well. Halliburton's still out for Indiana. Isaiah Jackson's questionable. Duarte's questionable. Mathurin questionable for Indiana. I believe you have all of them currently ruled in. And like I said before, on DraftKings, we have 4 Hornets hitting the optimals. There is no chance I play 4 Hornets in my lineups today. That is not going to be happening at all. Might get to 3. We'll see, especially if we're running it back with a Pacer, which might be in play. I like the Hornets more so than the Pacers. Ownership does as well, not surprisingly enough. Kelly Oubre on DK, we're looking at 28% ownership. He's at 6.9 as far as the asking price. 37 fantasy points. Terry Rozier, point guard's really, really strong tonight, so I don't really know how much I'm prioritizing Rozier. I hear some noises. Is TJ back with me?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I've just been listening to you talk for a while.
Oh, how dare you, by the way. I'm summoning my inner Greta Thunberg. You're blaming me? It's your internet, TJ. Welcome back, though. Thank you. I didn't want to talk about myself for an hour. I assume you're good to go
now? We'll see. I'm kind of I'm still experiencing the choppiness from everybody else, and so I might have to. I got 2 different internets on my network. I might have to switch to the other one, but we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it clears up. I've never had a problem before.
You hardwired in? You got to be ready to go for the draft tonight if nothing else.
Well, I know, right? It's kind of an odd experience here, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll fix itself up here.
You don't want to be auto-drafted. You mentioned before liking the Hornets. Again, projections love the Hornets tonight. Even DSJ coming off the bench is a nice little projection. You're getting 17% ownership. Gordon Hayward at 15% ownership. Price is pretty good. The matchup good against Indiana. This is interesting, TJ. Before I throw it to you, just digging into some stuff. Last 15 games, something's got to give here, right? Why does something have to give? Because the worst, so the worst offensive team in basketball is the Charlotte Hornets. No shock, right? They've been terrible. And I'm including the Detroit Pistons and the Spurs. I'm counting them in basketball, even though that is kind of rounding up and subjective. Worst team, last 15 games. Defensively, who's the worst team in basketball? The Pacers, by a good bit. And again, worse than everybody else. 122 is their defensive rating. So we have the worst offensive team last 15 games, the Hornets, versus the worst defensive team last 15 games, the Pacers. What gives here? Are the Hornets going to get right here against the horrific Pacers?
I think they gotta, right? Like, even if they don't, I think this game, somebody is going to perform well in this one, if not the entire team. If Terry Rozier doesn't have a big day, then Dennis Smith Jr. is likely going to have a big one. If it's not Kelly O, it's probably going to be Gordon Hayward. If it's not PJ Washington, it's probably going to be Nick Richards. So I definitely just want to get pieces of this team because Indiana is so bad defensively. This is going to be played at a fast pace. It's going to be sloppy. There's going to be turnovers, steals, blocks, and a lot of points scored in this one. So I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I think there's going to be a lot of fantasy points scored. How did I do? Did I cut out?
You sounded fine to me. I don't know. The people let us know in chat. Tell us how TJ is sounding, or producer Steve. Feel free to chime in as well. Give me this. You have any rules? You're talking about Charlotte. I think you said before, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to have a rule of at least one Charlotte player in every lineup. Is it one or two? I don't recall what you said. And I think I will as well because they have a really tight rotation. It's the other part of it. They only have, I think, 10 actual bodies that they can play. I think they might play all 10, right? Are we projecting all 10? That's basically a question of are we giving minutes to like Bryce McGowan's. We might be giving him a few. Of course, you're not playing Bryce McGowan's. We're giving him 12. Yeah, so they have their 10 actual bodies. But like the minutes projection, like Charlotte obviously not going anywhere, but they're basically locked in their 4 spot as far as the worst team in the league. Oubre 36 minutes, Rozier 36, Washington 32, Hayward 32, and Richards 28. Let's see, the other 15. Okay, so like Kai Jones and then some other smaller ball, I guess, or JT Thor playing some 5. And then that kind of the 6th man being DSJ. What sort of rules do you have as far as the Hornets, if you have any?
1 to 3 in every single one of my lineups, but then I do have some restrictions for player groups as well. Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, and Dennis Smith Jr. I have a max 2 of those players. PJ Washington and Nick Richards, I have a max 1 of those 2 players. And then that's it. So I'm making sure that like of the 4 wing guys, I only want to have 2 of them. I don't think the every single one of them is going to be producing. I'm not playing Kai Jones, JT Thor, McGowan's, any of those guys. It's just the main 6 for me. And I want a max 2 of the wings and a max 1 of the bigs.
Yeah, chat says you sound Canadian, which means the connection is fine. So there you go. Good question in chat. Kessler or Thompson on DK?
If I start sounding American, that's when you have to start worrying about me because clearly somebody's got a gun to my head or something like that. Which just,
I mean,
never mind, I'm not going to get into that.
Sounding American though, like I mean, not to get down the rabbit hole, but like there's so many distinct. I guess there's a generic American accent, but there are so many pockets of distinct accents. I don't really know what sounding American is. I'm sure it's the case in Canada as well, depending on where you're at. But yeah, I understand what you're doing though. I get it, but it's just like there's no distinct American.
It's fine. I can always take it from chat, because Americans love to make fun of Canadians, but the rest of the world, we're all making fun of you guys. So it's fine.
I can't imagine why. We love Canada. No, we just a lot of times you don't acknowledge you guys. Oh yeah, those guys are up there, aren't they? Yeah, they seem polite. All right. PJ Tucker, by the way, is not playing basketball.
Don't make me start my next, not this coming, but next Summer Olympics. The Team Canada is going to get a medal. I'll start that rant.
Hey, they're going to get one. The over/under's at a half a medal.
Yeah, exactly. SGA, Jamal Murray going to carry these guys. It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah, you guys, Canada does have some good. There's some other ones too. I can't think as far as basketball players. Wiggins is Canadian, right? I guess RJ Barrett Canadian,
RJ
according to
Barrett.
producer Steve. I wasn't aware of that. But Kessler or Thompson, Klay Thompson against Houston, completely 13, 14 threes he dropped in this team last time. Of course, that game was without Steph, but we know Houston gives it the most 3-pointers. Or Kessler, the absence of Markkanen. When Kessler really gets going, it's like through stocks, right? Like, I don't know how he's had like multiple games this year where he has 6 or 7 blocks, just blocks. Those are kind of sort of hard to predict. It's not a great block matchup for what it was worth. I was looking at that earlier today, but should be more opportunity for Kessler, if nothing else. Do you have a preference as far as Klay Thompson versus Kessler?
I do really like Klay Thompson from a tournament standpoint today, but I'll probably be getting about 10% Thompson and about 25-30% Walker Kessler. So of the two of them, I'm definitely choosing Kessler.
This is a fun thing we should do throughout the show. Like Taylor is saying, do your best Virginia accent. Now, I don't know if that's a good place to start. Virginia to me is not like there's not like a distinct Virginia accent. Correct me if I'm wrong if you're in Virginia. I've been to Virginia, but haven't spent a ton of time there. But like different pockets, clearly. Do you have like a Boston accent in your arsenal? Like a New York accent?
I'm better. I'm a lot better at impressions than I am specific accents. So if I hear somebody say something, I can replicate it pretty decently, but I'm not strong at just like pulling them out of my head from scratch.
Like celebrity impressions or like Blender? You can do a Blender.
Yeah, no, more so just like I could do an accent, but I would have to hear it first, kind of thing.
All right, fair enough.
Otherwise, it just sounds terrible. It always just bounces back and forth from Southern, British, and Australian.
Yeah, and like Southern accents, again, there's different pockets. They sound different in Louisiana as opposed to Nashville or whatever. But all right, derailing the show. This is how it goes. Yeah, they're talking about a Maine accent. I feel like Maine's got a distinct accent, but Tim from Maine, he'll be on later. I don't think he has anything distinct. Well, maybe we'll ask him when he joins the show later on. Hey, this is the important things you talk about in the 6-gamer. Are we running it back as far as the Pacers? As far as right now, I don't think we're getting a ton of ownership, just confirming. Yeah, nobody more than 14%. Miles Turner, really, really good matchup for Miles Turner. McConnell, even coming off the bench, has been pretty solid. 2 good, like, 6-man point guards. Like, playable, I guess we can say, in the pool in this game. DSJ and McConnell on both sides of it. Mathurin, if he goes, we're giving him 28 minutes. Buddy Hield, just for me, is just kind of too expensive and not getting enough minutes. I'm not really in on it. My favorite play on Indiana is Turner. The tricky part is the opportunity cost because center is pretty strong. Are you throwing in all the Canadians in chat? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Okay. Kelly O's
Brandon Clark, Dylan Brooks, Lou Dort, Kelly Olynyk, Trey Lyles, O'Shea Brissett, Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nembhard, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Corey Joseph, Chris Boucher, Shaden Sharp. A lot of NBA guys.
I have joined
Dwight
the 21st
Powell,
century.
Ken Birch.
Oh, Birch must be bummed. He got tipped out. And I guess Boucher is happy that he plays in Toronto. Who knows?
Chris Duarte.
Yeah. All right.
Wow, Pacers are more Canadian than the Raptors.
Isn't Celine Dion Canadian? Yes, I believe she's French-Canadian.
Pacers can throw out Nembhard, Duarte, Mathurin. There was one more I thought I saw. And O'Shea Brissett. They need one more from like a legit 5 lineup.
Alex Caruso ruled out, by the way. We're getting a lot of stuff for tomorrow. We did mention PJ Tucker. Javonte Green's available to play. I feel like we haven't seen Javonte in a long time, right? He's been questionable for a bit, but I don't know how much that matters. Who knows how much he will play? But I guess we'll see what our projection team has to say about that. So my favorite play is Turner. Good matchup as far as blocks, but good matchup just in general here against Charlotte. 28 minutes is kind of annoying. I think he grabbed more last game in a game where they're going to lose anyway, right? But Miles Turner, where is he on the hierarchy for you as far as runbacks for Indiana? He's my favorite, but again, he's a center, and I wish the minutes were a little bit more. Unfortunately, 28 is where we're at as far as the median projection.
Yeah, that's the same place that I'm at right now. I still think he's got a decent ceiling because he could block a ton of shots, hit some threes at Charlotte. But I think my favorite run back is going to be TJ McConnell, and then Miles Turner is going to be number 2.
I've joined the 21st century, and I have like an Apple Watch now, so my arm is dinging like crazy because I guess the Spurs just dropped their news for tomorrow,
and
so
the whole team is out.
Yeah. It's going to be. I don't know who they're playing, but they are getting dangerously close as far as the tankathon. They're the third, worst team. So if anybody's going to catch them, it's Charlotte. I believe they're 5 and 5 in their last 10. They're winning too many games. Houston too, 5 and 5 in their last 10. Detroit's got it on lock. Congratulations to them. But San Antonio's only 3 wins behind Charlotte. But so I guess maybe they're a little bit afraid of that with 10 games to go. If Charlotte just loses 0 games going forward, but maybe that's what's going on. Certainly some shenanigans in San Antonio. Anything else we should say as far as this game, or shall we move on? Give me your favorite play on each side of it.
Terry Rozier, number 1 for the Charlotte, followed closely behind with Dennis Smith Jr. And then on the Indiana side, it is TJ McConnell.
Taylor likes to quiz me in chat and asking me what college players go to. I don't know that answer. Rarely do I. Miles Turner, what college? I don't know where Miles Turner went. Yeah. Do you have that answer? I couldn't tell you.
Isn't it Indiana?
It could be. I don't know.
Pretty sure it is.
There you go. According to the chat, it might be Indiana, but I certainly, somebody's saying Texas, so maybe it was Indiana. Several people have different answers. Maybe he went to both.
Multiple different Indiana, Texas. Hoosiers hang banners says it's Texas, so I trust Hoosiers hang banners.
If you're an Indiana guy and it's not Indiana, that makes sense to me. He was also pointing out that apparently it's a homecoming game for Hayward, which I guess Gordon Hayward's from Indianapolis, but like it's in Charlotte. He said friends and family game. They're not traveling to Charlotte for this game, are they? Especially, come on, this is a meaningless game, let's be honest. And he's been in the league like 10 years. They've seen him play enough at this point. I don't know, unless there's word out that the family is taking a road trip to Charlotte. But
those Butler Bulldogs travel.
Look at you. Yeah, I did know that one, actually.
I watched him play in college, so I won't I was live at a game with him when they were in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, so I won't forget that one.
There you go. All right, we're moving on, correct? Yes, I believe so. Other 7 o'clock game is Chicago at Philly. 225 is the total. Philadelphia is an 8-point favorite here. As far as who's in and who's out in this one, well, we just got the news that there's going to be no Caruso. Wonder who we're going to start. Are we assuming? Let's see if we have a projection change.
Probably Ayo goes back in.
We're giving it to Ayo Dosunmu, Beverly, Levine, DeRozan, and Vuk. And we did. Who knows? Well, I guess we'll see if we get any minutes from Javonte Green. Philadelphia, James Harden had that rest. He's good to go now. Tucker is out with his ankle. We are expecting Harden, Maxey, Melton, and Harris to start alongside Embiid. Embiid, the clear favorite now from a Vegas perspective as far as winning the MVP. I have not checked the odds in the last day or two, but he's like, I think it was minus 260 or so last I checked. Coming on strong, closing strong. Not going to get into the debate as far as like if he is or isn't, but that's the facts, and he wants it. He's been smashing. He's been smashing too much, unfortunately, because I don't think he's played a fourth quarter in at least 2 games. This is not a good matchup here against Chicago. The one time he faced Chicago earlier in the year is not good. He was bad against Chicago. I don't really care so much that it's a bad matchup, but I also think there's a better chance of grabbing that fourth quarter. I don't know where – I'm not really sure where I'm at on Embiid because I like centers a lot too. Of course, I always want to get to Embiid if I can, and I think we have the value to make it work. But, what does he have to put up in order for you to justify delegating the funds is the question as far as lineup construction. How much do you feel obliged to grab Embiid tonight at 11.6 on DK? I think he's about 12 on Fanduel.
About as much, if not a little bit more than what his projected ownership is. That's the nice thing with Embiid tonight is I do think he's got a mega ceiling, probably the highest ceiling on the slate. But he's also tough to get to, and there's better options today, I think. And so with him only coming in at 10% ownership, it's going to be pretty easy in tournaments today to get at least that. If you're playing a single entry lineup, I don't think you need to go there. If you're playing 3 lineups, maybe get him in one of them. And then if you're running 150, trying to maybe get 15-20% Joel Embiid. If he has a bad game, that doesn't really hurt you. If he has a really strong game, then all of a sudden you're cooking.
What about the rest of the team? No Tucker. Is there a trickle down effect? Obviously, Tucker doesn't take any shots, so usage doesn't change a ton. Some more minutes to go around, but prices have kind of adjusted on the Philadelphia side. I'm doing the old. Okay, so we did have an update. All right, as of like 2 minutes ago or so. If you guys have RotoGrinders Premium, feel free to give the old lineup HQ a refresh. Let's see what we have as far as our projections on the Philadelphia side. I assume this reflects no Tucker. It does. Like you said, 10% for Embiid, 10% for Harden. Nobody else getting more than 2. We saw Maxey put like 35 points in the bucket last game, whatever it was, 30 plus. He went nuts because Harden was out. Harden is back now, so it's really hard to justify 7-4 to Maxey. We saw Harris at 4.9. Now he's jumped up to 6K. Really hard to pay that off. Chicago, good defensive team. I don't like anybody basically outside of Embiid and Harden. 10%, and I agree. I think you should probably try to get over 10% on Embiid because despite the fact it's not a good matchup, pretty good chance it stays close. Pretty good chance he plays 35, 36, 37 minutes. And the form he's been in of late, just the raw points should be spectacular. Any other thoughts as far as Philly? You want to jump over to Chicago, which is kind of uneventful for me. You can, of course, play DeRozan if you want, and he's been in good form of late. The big three, Vuk, DeRozan, LaVine. We are giving, let's see, Javonte Green's getting 3 minutes. That feels like a hedge to me. We're giving 3 minutes to him and 3 to Terry, which, again, you're not playing these guys. DJJ also getting 3 minutes. We're giving White 28 minutes. I assume we have him. No, I would assume we'll draw on the start. Okay, 28 and 28. We're chopping those up. But, I'm not enthused about anybody in Chicago. Different degrees of enthusement, I suppose, but all of it's subdued mostly. What do you have as far as the Bulls?
Very, very similar to you. On the Philly side, I'll try and get overweight to Embiid. I'll probably be a little under on Harden, and those are the only 2 in my pool. On the Chicago side, I'm not going to have anybody at more than like 10%. But I'll get a little bit of DeRozan, a little bit of LaVine, a little bit of Vucevic. But my favorite 2, and again, these are only guys I'm going to get 5-ish% of, are probably Colby White and Drummond.
Talk about Drummond. I think it's kind of interesting. What are we projecting for his minutes? Basically he's going to play backup 5 behind Vuk. And the reason why you're bringing it up, and I assume this is DK specific, you only will get 1 center on FanDuel. 3K. You're right. The floor is rough. He has a history with Embiid, right? What is this?
Yeah,
history?
Embiid always torches him. Embiid always torches him, and Drummond usually dodges him. But he typically gets a few more minutes per game with Caruso out, and he's probably going to suck. He's almost for sure going to suck, and that's why you don't play him in more than 5% of your lineups. But Philly is favored by 8.5 points. And so if Philly ends up running away with this in the fourth quarter and Drummond plays 3-4 minutes of garbage time, so instead of 10 to 12 minutes today, he plays 18 minutes, 16 minutes, he could have 30 fantasy points. And at that price tag, it's just somebody that I always like to put in my pool if Chicago's playing in a large spread game.
What was the game in Mexico? Was that a Drummond versus Embiid, or remember Drummond had the case of like avocado poisoning or something like that? I can't remember. He ate the wrong avocado. Remember the story?
Yeah. His eye puffed up because he touched an avocado and touched his eye or something.
Yeah, I'm kind of butchering the story, but that was the gist of it. So it was blamed on avocados in some way. I didn't know avocados could have such a side effect. I'm not aware. Yeah, was that against Embiid? I think he's got a history of like either dodging him or like getting smashed against him, or maybe both, right?
It's both. It's both.
Yeah. And he's a good fantasy point player.
Calling him out all the time.
I think Embiid likes dunking on him. So the thing with Drummond is, like you said, if he plays 15 minutes, which is not a crazy story to tell, if he plays 15 minutes, he averages 1.31 DK, 1.34 FanDuel. FanDuel 4.2. I don't really know if I can get there theoretically, but 3K on DK Stone Min. What do you need? He absolutely can put up 25 points in 14 minutes. And if the game, like you said, if Vuk gets in foul trouble, if that happens, if the game gets blown out,
that's the thing, because if Vucevic gets in foul trouble, this isn't like the majority of teams in the NBA where you can just go small against them. You can't. He'll have to play because it's Joel Embiid. So, in different scenarios, with Vucevic getting in foul trouble against other teams, you'll see them put Derek Jones Jr., Patrick Williams at the 5, something like that, and just go small. But against a team like Philly, you can't do that. So the
you can do it against
scenario,
Paul Reed. Against Paul Reed, you can do it, but Reed's not going to be out there very
for
often.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the likely scenario is that he fails, but the chance there are multiple avenues that he doesn't, whether it's foul trouble or a blowout or an injury, or just happening to play 12 minutes and then getting 20 fantasy points, so that doesn't hurt you. With all those different scenarios, those different paths that lead to a potential explosion from him, I think he's definitely worth including in your pool.
Just, are you running a bunch of lineups today? You doing like the 150? What's the story?
Yeah, 150 on DraftKings.
So, like, what's the plan? Are you talking about? Are we spending too much time on like a 2 or 3%? Are you playing 4%? We're projecting him for like 1%.
I'm trying to play 5% of them.
Yeah, which I think is I think it's just worth noting that like this is large field, shooting for the top, big swing, not something you do in your cash game lineup, not something you're doing in a tournament of 100 people. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Or
but
even like a single entry, even if I'm playing 3, 10, 25 lineups, I don't think I get there.
Correct. Yeah. I just thought that was worth pointing out. But I also think it's a good point because it wouldn't be shocking if you put up like 30 fantasy points tonight. That scenario is in play. What if Melton starts for Tucker? We're assuming Melton starts. David's asking there in chat. He's just been priced up. And if you want to chase his stock game last time out, he was spectacular, like 6 or 7 steals. And also there's no James Harden. So some usage will be taken away from him. I'm not really in on Melton. Do you have a thought as we just kind of mentioned, I think it's Philadelphia, basically the top 2. And the other guys, their prices have kind of adjusted where it makes it tricky. He's getting 9%, so you can play him. Yeah, sure. But it's not something I'm making a priority.
He's not even in my pool. I don't ever play Melton unless James Harden's out.
Fair enough. Anything else here or moving on?
Nope. Let's move on.
How many minutes for Kai Jones? We're not giving a lot to Kai Jones, right? I wouldn't think so.
We are giving
15, 20?
16 minutes to Kai Jones.
Yeah. Is he the same price? He's 3.9. I was going to ask if he's the same price as Drummond. But I think Drummond's a distinctly better fantasy point, better player. Like he's not. I don't think Kai Jones is bad, but Drummond's just really, really good.
Yeah, Kai Jones is not in my pool.
Kai Jones 0.78. That's actually not very good for a center, power forward / center for what it's worth. All right, let's move off the 7 o'clock games. We have a half-hour break to Minnesota, New York. 227.5 is the total. 9-point line here for New York. We are assuming that Edwards does not go, not official. He's officially questionable, but we think the Timberwolves are big liars, and they've been suspicious as far as their injury report for a while now, and keep Rudy Gobert being questionable, and just kept getting rolled in. He's officially questionable, Gobert. That is. Are we getting news right now? Mathurin in, Duarte out. As far as Indiana, we should probably get one more. Wasn't there 3 guys for Indiana? I feel like one more will be dropping in a second. Maybe not. But Mathurin's in for Indiana, and Duarte being out. We'll see how our projections adjust to that. Other stuff in Minnesota, Cat obviously is out. Naz Reid has been for a while questionable, playing mostly. Jalen Noel is doubtful. Austin Rivers questionable. New York is fully healthy, fully good to go. And they play a really, really tight rotation, obviously. Where do you want to start as far as Minnesota and New York?
Let's start with Minnesota because obviously we're waiting for some news here with Edwards questionable, Reed questionable, and Gobert questionable. I'm playing this right now as Anthony Edwards just got out of a walking boot, so I'm assuming he's going to be out. Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert, they've both been listed as questionable every night for the last few nights. They've both been playing every night. The only time Naz Reid didn't play was when he wasn't even on the injury report.
Yes.
And so I'm planning on getting to a decent amount of Minnesota today. Not as much Taurean Prince as the field. I'm going to get like a max 15% Taurean Prince. Now, don't get me wrong. He can have a big game if his threes are going in and et cetera, et cetera. It's just he's too highly owned on this slate for me. I'll maybe have close to that much if the Memphis news doesn't go my way. And it breaks before that game starts, and then it's not going my way, then yeah, maybe I'll get a little less Memphis and a little bit more Minnesota. But I'm mostly going to Utah for my value today, so I'm not getting near as much Prince as the field. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I'll still take a couple shots on. He disappointed last game, obviously, but he's 3% owned today. So I would much rather take shots on Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 3% owned as opposed to Taurean Prince pushing 30. Jordan McLaughlin had a phenomenal game last game. I'll get a little bit of him. And then Naz Reid, even I don't mind mixing in for tournaments as well. Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson are kind of priced at points that they're not my favorite plays in this one, but they're definitely still going to be in my player pool. And then on the New York side of things, I'm a lot more interested in these guys, like Jalen Brunson's price tag of $7,500 on DraftKings. That is just beautiful. If he's somebody I'm trying to get a lot of today. Julius Randle at $9,200. That's a good price tag. And then Mitchell Robinson all the way down at 4.5 is somebody I'm looking to get to as well.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. And, two guys that are going to stay in the paint, Mitch Robin and Gobert. We'll talk about Gobert in a second. And Gobert is hitting some optimals. And I don't like playing players like Gobert against New York. New York gives up the fewest points in the paint to opponents, and that's how Gobert gets there. Now, maybe he grabs 15 boards and blocks 5 shots and puts in 8 to 12, and he kind of gets it that way, sure. But it's not a great scoring matchup for him. I do like the prices, like you said, DK especially. I did run an optimal, by the way. Ran some more optimals with our new projections, down to 3 Pelicans, down to 3 Hornets in our first lineup for what it's worth. And Gobert's hitting it, and Randall's hitting it, and Prince, of course, is hitting it too. Again, under the assumption that we get no Edwards tonight, and the Utah guys are also hitting it as well. No surprise. Second optimal now just has 2 Hornets. So the Hornets, I guess it's the other. The slate's just kind of opening up, which is sort of what we're seeing. You mentioned Mitch Rob. The tricky part is right, he's a center and center only. He's down to 4.5, certainly playable. Good rebound, good block guy. The points. Maybe he can get you a double-double, I suppose, but you can't really rely on him putting, 15, 20 points in the bucket necessarily. And you mentioned Brunson. It's just that point guard is really strong today. That's the only thing I have negative to say about him. That's kind of where I'm at. I think point guard's a really strong position. Rozier is somebody we've talked about. I really like Tyus Jones, which we'll get to if you want to spend up. I think
as it stands right now.
Yeah.
As it stands right now on DraftKings, I made a rule, which is not something I would usually do, but that I want 100% of my utility exposure to be point guards today.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Oh, wow.
There's so many of them I want to get over the field on, and so I'm just making sure that I play 2 point guards in every lineup at least.
Yeah, I mean, if Kyrie goes, I guess is officially questionable. 9:00 game, Luka basically out, assumed out, and THJ we don't know. Kyrie can be spectacular, and I think he's going to be not terribly popular. We'll talk about it. 8:00 game, so maybe we get that news at 4-7. Not guaranteed, obviously. I didn't mention Fox against Utah. It's just really, really strong. And Dunn on Utah as well. You're talking about the Utah pieces. Chris Dunn's going to vault as well. So yeah, point guards are really strong. But it's point guard and center, which is kind of sort of. It feels like that's the way it is most days. The 2 of the better positions, and then kind of in the middle, not as fun to fill out. In this game, Minnesota and New York, what's your favorite play on each side?
Favorite play from Minnesota? No one really stands out as my favorite on their own. For cash games, it's Taurean Prince. For tournaments, I guess it's Gobert and Anderson. I'm both going to get 10-ish% of. And then Nickeil Alexander and Jordan McLaughlin will both probably be overweight on. So for tournaments, I guess it's them.
Yeah, I see in the chat they're talking about Fontecchio versus Prince.
It's Fontecchio by a lot for me.
For what it's worth, Fontecchio getting a ton of ownership too. He's getting 36% right now. Prince is getting 25. Did we lower? Okay, so Prince is 3-4, and he's got a projection of 23 fantasy points, right? So 3-4. 23 fantasy points. Fontecchio is 3-6 and getting 24 fantasy points. So basically the same price and a slight edge as far as projection, median projection for Fontecchio. We assume he's going to draw the start there for Utah. I don't know if I love Fontecchio like Super Chalk for what it's worth. He's pretty reliant on his threes. But I think the opportunity is going to be there, and he probably draws a start, right? I think we're projecting him to start. Yeah, THT, Agbaji, Fontecchio, Kellyo, and Kessler. And there's not a ton of depth on that Utah side, so he's going to get some run.
Yeah, I'm going to have at
else?
least 2 Utah players in every lineup today. 2 to 4 is the rule I have set.
You'll get to 4, huh? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
4 might be one too many. I'm not sure. I'm curious.
Well, I'm just looking at it like if I have a lineup that lands with Dunn, Fontecchio, Horton Tucker, and one of Olenek or Walker Kessler, I'm not going to be mad.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think they're all good plays. Can they all get quote unquote ceiling games?
Especially if you like run that back with a Sabonis and Fox or something like that. Ooh, juicy.
Yeah, that one's pretty high, and it's relatively tight as far as Utah. 6-point dogs here currently against Sacramento, almost a 240 total, which I think is the highest in the board. Yes. We got anything else to say as far as Minnesota and New York?
No, not really. It's obviously has the potential to go absolutely crazy if Gobert and or Reed get ruled out. If for some reason Anthony Edwards is in, this would almost just be an X button team for me. But as it stands right now, as we're thinking about it with the bigs in and Anthony Edwards out, this is a team that could potentially provide a lot of good value, but I think it's also important to remember that they have a 109 team total, so maybe don't go overweight, like too crazy with playing 3 of them in a lineup type of thing.
All right. Let's talk about Golden State versus Houston. 235.5 is the total. Golden State, 11-point favorite. Houston, back half of a back-to-back. Golden State, I don't know how much you believe in home road splits. Generally, it's not really something I obsess over, but Golden State this year, pretty distinctly different on the road. They're really bad on the road. Much, much, much better at home. Houston on the back half of the back-to-back. Şengün has an illness. He had the fish. He's not feeling well. He's questionable. Jae'Sean Tate, unavailable to play. He does not play back-to-backs, so he's ruled out. And Jalen Green, who had a huge game yesterday, I think 35 points in the bucket, if I'm not mistaken, maybe more. He's got a thigh, so he is questionable. As far as Golden State's, nothing new. Well, Kevon Looney is questionable with his back. I assume he plays because he always plays. He has a consecutive game streak live, and everybody else just sort of standard. No Iguodala, no Wiggins. Warriors, Houston. Houston yields the most three-pointers made to opponents. Of course, Golden State knows that, and they will take advantage of it. We saw last time out. No Steph, therefore Clay hit, I believe, 13 or 14 threes, a lot. Also, Houston gives them a ton of steals and a ton of blocks. So I think Draymond Green's pretty interesting. I like him on Fanduel more because you get an extra point for that steal and that block. But he's certainly in my pool tonight. Warriors, Rockets, start where you want to start.
I'll start with the Rockets because they're the biggest question mark of the day, with Şengün and Jalen Green both being listed as questionable, and that coming halfway through the day here. If Şengün is out, this will be one of my highest owned teams on the slate. KJ Martin, Tari Eason, and Jabari Smith Jr. I'll have 1 to 2 of them in every single one of my lineups today. I just can't imagine a scenario where one of them doesn't have a very big game. If Jalen Green is out as well, Kevin Porter Jr. skyrockets up my list for tournaments. Maybe I take a shot on some of these super cheap guards like a Josh Christopher in tournaments. We'll see. But it's still mostly going to be Eason, KJ Martin, and Jabari Smith Jr. for me. If Şengün and Jalen Green are both in, I still have interest in Jalen Green. Şengün, just a little. Kevin Porter Jr., just a very little bit. Kenyon Martin and Jabari Smith Jr., just a very little bit. But with Jae'Sean Tate out, I still think Eason makes for a great tournament value play.
By the way, Javonte Green expected to play in 3 to 5 minutes stints tonight. Not that you were playing him, but just as far as, don't expect much out of Green, but he's going to be giving it a go. He's back tonight. We haven't seen him in a while. Şengün getting the most ownership on DK. And I said before, and somebody was asking, I just don't love this matchup for him. I don't think he fits well in a matchup versus Golden State. Golden State playing fast, playing small typically. And we've seen him get kicked off the court in several games against Golden State so far this year. I know one was a blowout, but I don't believe he's played. I can get his averages up pretty quickly, but I was looking at him earlier today and just we've not seen a good game for Şengün versus Golden State in 3 efforts this year, and his minutes 22.3 is the average. Yeah, I'm off it. but and also he just might not play. Like you said, certainly that can open up some stuff. Tari Eason, I think, would become very, very popular for the Houston side. And like you said, KPJ, pretty interesting. If Green doesn't go, if they're going to keep up, he would probably have to do his thing, potentially get those, possible triple double type numbers. But yeah, Şengün, the biggest ownership right now, 19%. Green at 16%, which, like I said, for point guards before, that's a really good price. 6'8" if he is good to go. Also shooting guard eligible, which is nice. The versatility, you don't have to play him at shooting guard. And Steph, the same story with Steph as always, right? Any given night, you can drop 10 to 11 threes. This feels like a matchup where it's more likely he does it here versus Houston than against, the standard opponent X. And Tari Eason, he's fine if you want to. And I know you'll consider playing him as is. If Şengün goes, he can mop up a little bit. This is the kind of game environment. I believe he's played really well against Golden State. I was going to look at him as well. Small samples and things like that. And he's also got, if this game gets ugly, he still might get some run. This year he's been pretty good against this Golden State team. His splits a little bit better than it's been, versus for the season, for what it's worth. Anything else we should focus on or prioritize as far as Golden State, Houston? We're dropping all the if-then stuff. But anything else worth pointing out before we move on?
No, that's it from a Houston standpoint. In terms of the Golden State Warriors, it's like you said, I think Curry, always a strong GPP play. Klay Thompson at 7,100, not picking up any ownership, I think is very interesting. Draymond Green is all right because he has that power forward eligibility. I don't mind getting to him, but I think the one I'm most interested in for tournaments, actually, and this is somebody Tuttle has written up today in Lineup HQ, is Jordan Poole, just based on similar to Tari Eason. Obviously, the price is different, but similar to Tari Eason, if this game is close, he could close and he could have a very big game. But then if this game turns into a blowout, he could be a huge, huge scorer on this one. So Jordan Poole is somebody that I don't mind getting to for tournaments, considering he's like 1% owned right now. I love the idea of getting like 5 to 10% of them.
Yeah, somebody in chat said they like Kevon Looney, and similar to I don't really like Looney in this game. I think he just doesn't close. And I think that Golden State's going to close with Curry, Thompson, Draymond, and two of DiVincenzo, Kuminga, and Poole. That's sort of and I also I'm not certain, but I'm cautious that Şengün doesn't close. So that's kind of, I feel like if Looney plays, if Looney's closing, maybe Şengün closes, and it's kind of like both or none in my head. And I think it's more likely that neither close, Şengün and Looney. But we have seen Şengün closing more of late. He did foul out yesterday. Don't look at yesterday because that's the reason why he didn't close. Also, he was playing against Jonas Valanciunas, who's a big boy, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't really peg Jonas Valanciunas playing 33 minutes when he hadn't
I did, and not to cut you off, but he played the very same team the previous game versus Houston. And I meant to write this up for SAO, and I didn't have the time, but I may have had a wager on Valanciunas and a lot of his alt stuff yesterday because his last two games have been against Houston, against Şengün, and they let him go against Şengün, big against big, and he kept posting him up, and he was abusing him yesterday. But you're right, as far as Valanciunas before that, his minutes have been all over the place.
Yeah, exactly. That was a good call by you because that was something I totally missed. I was on Nance last night. Thinking the Pelicans might end up blowing them out, and even if not, he should still have a solid game. And then JV just, of course, played 34 minutes, and so that didn't really work out all too well for me.
Note here for Mathurin. Mathurin will not have a hard minutes limit Monday. Hard minutes limit. What's a hard? Okay, man, it's a play it by ear thing. I mean, Indiana's been pushing their guys' minutes down, as is. Maybe he plays. Let's see what we have. I'm going to guess 27. How does that sound? Let's see what our projection team has for him. What do you think for Mathurin? Over or under 27? I'm setting the line.
We got him at 28 right now. I think 27, 28 is reasonable.
Yeah, well, I was asking you to play along and take a guess.
I already had it in front of me before.
You got the cheat code right in front of you. Yeah, so 28 minutes. How playable do we have him as far as his price is actually pretty good. Matchup's good, obviously. We're giving him 28 minutes, 26 DK points at 4.9, 7% ownership as of a half hour ago. Maybe that changes, but yeah, I think he's playable. Sure. Is he in your pool, Mathurin?
Yeah, but not somebody I'm getting very much of.
Okay, so we'll talk about Hardaway. We'll talk about Hardy in a second. They're asking about Hardy for Dallas. We do have 2 more games. Top of the hour, 6 o'clock. Crunch Time Crew. You got Andy Means. You got Maine's own Tim, and you got Andy. You got Kevin Roth taking you guys home all the way up to lock. Whatever questions we don't get to, and feel free to fire some questions. Interactive as possible. Do like when you guys chime in and chat. Even if you disagree, it's spectacular. We like a disagreement, a healthy disagreement.
Tell us if you're chiming in, you better be hitting the like button.
What about the subscribe? Should they hit that button too, or just the like?
Hit the subscribe. Hit that little notification bell. To be fair, the notification bell and the subscribe are a lot more important than the like button. But I kind of imagine that everybody who's tuning in has already done those things. That's why they got the alert for the show. But you do that once and it's done, right? You subscribe once and it's done. You hit that notification bell once and it's done. So we hope everybody has done that. But the like button is something we need for each of the shows. So that's why we always got to remind for that one.
All right. And are you setting any sort of like goal for the people? Is it something you're going to do, like a dance? You're going to juggle? You got anything ready to bust out in case?
The goal is always at least 100. It should be at bare minimum half of the people we have watching, but the goal is kind of at bare minimum 100. Hopefully we can get to the halfway mark. We got over 350 people watching right now, so halfway should be easy. Halfway of 150 should be easy. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully we get there. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. I don't have a dance plan, but I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah, I don't. Can you bust out a floss just on cue? I don't know if that's in your repertoire or not, but it's popular amongst the kids. That's my understanding. Dallas is playing Memphis. 227 is a total. Memphis 5-point favorite here. The Grizz last game before they are expected to get Joshua back on Wednesday. Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. has got a calf, therefore he is questionable. Nothing changing as far as their big man. Of course, Clark and Adams out indefinitely. Dallas, no Luka Doncic. Is he officially doubtful? I think he's been ruled out, right, with this thigh. He's not playing basketball tonight. THJ, Tim Hardaway Jr., he's not feeling well. He was eating with Alperen Sengun. He also is ill. He's questionable. No Markieff Morris, doesn't matter. Kyrie, officially questionable. Okay. 8 o'clock is that start time. Of course, that is super important news to know. Let's see. As far as, we mentioned Memphis and Dallas. You mentioned prioritizing point guards. You want to get over the field in certain players. To me, that sounds like you're probably going to get over on Kyrie. You're expecting he's going to play, and I don't know how popular he's going to be. And again, you're waiting for some news, and people are always scared to play, put guys in their lineup or even in a holding pattern that are questionable. What do we have? 15% as far as Kyrie? Is that what he's getting? The absence of Luka, I believe. I'm getting the old refresh on it. But 16% for Kyrie. We've seen some ceiling games out of Wood. But talk to me about Dallas, and I guess it's a lot of if-then stuff.
Yeah, Kyrie is somebody that I'm planning on getting a lot of today, assuming that he plays. If he does, this is an important kind of if-then. Obviously, we had somebody asking about Jaden Hardy. Josh Green and Jaden Hardy, I don't think you can have them in your pool unless Kyrie Irving is out. If Kyrie Irving is out, both of them are two of the very best plays on the slate. If Tim Hardaway is also out, then you want to have probably both of them in damn near every single one of your lineups today. Jaden Hardy and Josh Green both would just be absolutely phenomenal. Assuming Kyrie Irving is in, he's the only one I really have interest in getting a lot of. And then Christian Wood and Maxi Kleber maybe will be in my pool as guys that I just want to get a small amount of.
We have a what if on Tim Hardaway. We don't have one on Kyrie. But if Tim Hardaway is out, Kyrie's already a fine play. He's a positive DK value. He's a positive Fanduel value. This will be if THJ is out. And I guess he's just getting a little bit more, not much more, but it's more of a how much he affects other guys. Christian Wood would be a positive value on DK. A 35-point projection, 33 on Fanduel. No other positive plays. Again, this is if Kyrie's in and Hardaway's out, it's not enough to move the needle on Hardy. Hardy's projection would be 18, 19 points. And it's not like he's 3K the way he was. His price got baked up when he was driving in the absence of everybody not too long ago. His prices have come back down. And same deal with Josh Green, who, 25-point projection is just not enough when you consider where his salary is right now. Other side, as far as Memphis, I said before, I like Tyus Jones in his last game to thrive until he gets, thrown back to the bench. If we lose Triple J, currently questionable, Tillman and Santi Aldama will both be really, really interesting. They would both get boosts. Trying to see if we happen to have a if-then. We do. And, yeah, as far as DK values, Bane would jump up. He's already looking like a fine play to 43 DK points per minute. Points per minute, that would be outrageous for the entire game, DK points. Aldama will get 26 DK points, 25 as a median projection. Tyus Jones, 38, 36. Tillman, right around 30.
What would we have for David Roddy?
19 points on DK, 18 on FanDuel. Is he stone min? I don't think he is, right?
He's 3-4, so like somebody that I'll consider keeping in the pool, but not get a lot of.
Kennard's been getting more minutes of late. It's super, super thin. It's hard to trust. We saw Kenneth Lofton playing like first quarter minutes the other night. He went back to a DNP-CD, but he stole some minutes away from Xavier Tillman. Yeah, I think he closed actually. Husky fella, Kenneth Lofton. Other thoughts as far as Memphis? How much you're prioritizing Bane? It was like fine and could get better, and then Santi Aldama, Triple J doesn't go, as well as Tillman would look pretty good. Aldama, when you consider the price, is the better play probably.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm currently projecting JJJ out, and so Desmond Bane is my second highest owned play on the slate actually, and I'm getting an absolute ton of this Memphis value headlined by Santi Aldama.
Are you doing anything as far as like what if we don't get news by 7 o'clock? Backloading a little bit. Are you pushing down a little bit on Chicago, Philly, Charlotte, Indiana, or you're just kind of, because I know you like some Charlotte guys earlier, of course, Embiid as well. The 7 o'clock games, leaving enough spots in case things break a certain way. You don't want to be locked in on okay plays when all of a sudden there's incredible value out there.
I'm not worried about limiting Charlotte because they're in such a good spot, but I do have it limited to max 1 Chicago player, max 1 Philadelphia player, and I'm going to be getting a minimum of 2 Utah players, minimum of 1 Memphis player in every one of my lineups. And so because of that, I'll naturally just have the spaces available to update if that news doesn't go my way.
All right. According to Coach Finch, as we suspected, Anthony Edwards unlikely to play on Monday. The injury reports from Minnesota are a joke. They continue to be a joke. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about the hammer, the 9 o'clock hammer. That is Sacramento and Utah. 238.5 it is the total. Utah is a 6-point dog here. Utah is getting a fair bit of attention here in the DFA streets because there's no Lauri Markkanen. There's been no Colin Sexton for a while, and of course no Jordan Clarkson. He still has that finger. Sacramento on the other side, no Kevin Huerter. No, he's questionable, Kevin Huerter. And Trey Lyles has a shoulder, therefore he is questionable. Huerter, we saw in his absence, Kessler Edwards, kind of a surprise start, but he was kicked out pretty quickly. I believe he had some foul trouble. Also, Terrence Davis just refused to miss 3-pointers. So he got a boost. I would not expect the efficiency that we got last time out from Terrence Davis, but good for him last game. And Malik Monk is another guy that would get elevated in the absence of Huerter. Start with Utah. You've said several times in the show you're going to play at least 2 Jazz. Tell us why we're playing 2 Jasmine.
No Jordan Clarkson, still no Colin Sexton, now Lauri Markkanen, who's played I'm sure he's probably missed 1 or 2, but I can't remember Markkanen missing any games this year. And so this is pretty uncharted waters for Utah. And there's just so many players in phenomenal spots. I'm not going to mix around with Johnny Juzang or Juan Toscano Anderson. Those aren't going to be for me today, but everybody above them, I'm getting to. Rudy Gay, Walker Kessler, Chris Dunn, Kelly Olynyk, Ochai Agbaji, Taylor Horton-Tucker, and Simone Fontecchio. Can you guess who my highest owned one's going to be, Dean?
I'm going to get, this might shuffle up and change because I think you do like a,
it's not going to change. I need you to think about the rules I've set and the players I've liked in the past.
Okay. Oh, is it Chris Dunn?
Chris Dunn season, Dean. It's Chris Dunn season. We're loading up. I'm getting Chris Dunn in at least half of my lineups today.
Yeah, we've had, but by the way, not this is we care about today and today only, but we did have a Chris Dunn our debate, and the official scores. I got the W in that one for the record scoreboard. In that one specific game,
he was still 3.6K and he had 23 fantasy points.
Worthless in the context of that slate. I think it doesn't matter. I take my W's when I can get them for sure. You don't like THT more, or it's like a salary thing, right? We're done as 4.8 on DK, and THT has been priced all the way up to 6.8. Kelly O looks really, really good at 5.7. Walker Kessler, I saw people in the chat talking about him. Like, I'm running a court IQ. I want to see. I feel like Walker Kessler doesn't. Maybe he gets more rebounds in the absence of marketing, but I don't think he shoots much more. He's not a big shooter, obviously. He gets there
I think
through
maybe more
dunks and
minutes
boards
too, because it just limits the amount of time that they can go small running a guy like Markkanen at the 5.
All right, I'm going to kick some players off the court and see what we come up with. Should I kick off Sexton? I guess I will, right? Why not?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
So, like, for what it's worth, I'm going to end up probably with about 50 to 60% Chris Dunn today, 20 to 30% Olynyk, 20 to 30% Agbaji, and then 30 to 40% of Fontecchio and Taylor Horton-Tucker.
So you're going to – I mean, there's going to be a noise. There's going to be a bang on the table when you hear this. I'm not sure if you're aware of this as far as Chris Dunn, but small sample size alert. No Clarkson, no Markkanen, no Sexton, right? In 65 minutes. Small sample size, right? But 27.6% usage for Chris Dunn. What is that a boost of? 7.4%. That's a huge boost. Fantasy points per minute, 1.71. That's outrageous on DK. 1.69 on Fanduel. Now, again, there's probably some incredible efficiency there. But he's been incredible in the when you take Clarkson and Markkanen and Sexton off the court. THC spectacular, 27% usage as well. Malik Beasley's in this mix, but whatever. That's not a big deal, I don't think. Fontecchio, 23% usage. Again, he's basically reliant upon his 3-pointers. Kessler, 14% usage. Yeah, is that basically a season average? It's got to be, right? Can't get any lower than that. 13%. It's a season average, so he's getting a slight tick. But yeah, he's still a pretty good fantasy point guard player, obviously. Power rank the Jazz for me.
Chris Dunn 1, Fontecchio 2. No, sorry. Chris Dunn 1, Taylor Horton-Tucker 2, Fontecchio 3, Agbaji 4, Kessler 5, Olynyk 5, Kessler 6, Rudy Gay 7.
Better play Chris Dunn or Tari Eason. Well, I mean, if
don't
Sengun
pit my
play,
2 favorites against me.
Hey, Sophie's choice, man. Go for it. They're both falling off a cliff. You only have one arm.
As it stands right now,
too.
Chris Dunn. If Sengun is out, then I'll have both Dunn and Eason in over half my lineups. And if I was running a single entry, they would absolutely both be in it.
Sabonis is going to abuse Kessler. Kessler's been really good. And this is not the matchup it was to start the season, for what it's worth. It's gotten progressively worse. We used to like picking on Utah on the inside, just picking on Utah in general. Their defense has gotten better. But Sabonis has been spectacular. And I can't remember, it's like 4 of his last 6 games or something like that. He has dropped a triple-double. Why are we talking about Isaiah Jackson? What did I miss? Why are you typing that in the chat?
He's available to play, and somebody said Isaiah Jackson is available for the Bulls. He might get some run, and so I said Isaiah Jackson plays for the Pacers.
Well, he might play the same for both teams tonight. 0 minutes. Okay, I'm like,
we got the notification he was available to play, and somebody mentioned that, like, I don't know if that was like referencing back to the Drummond conversation, but they were like, you might get some minutes for the Bulls, and so I just want to say, like, I don't think so, because he plays for the Pacers.
Isaiah Jackson, for what it's worth, projected for 2 minutes tonight, according to our projection team. He's really, really good when he gets on the court, but the key is you got to get on the court, obviously. You like the Jazz. You're putting 2 Jazz in every single lineup. How much do we like the Kings? Who are we prioritizing?
Love the Kings. Sabonis is probably my favorite spend-up on the slate. Kyrie Irving will come close to him if we get confirmation that he's playing, but as it stands right now, I think Sabonis is likely going to be my favorite spend-up. De'Aaron Fox is another play I'm looking to get overweight on today. Oh, pardon me. Coming in at I'm drinking a bubbly drink on the side here, and the burps came up on me. De'Aaron Fox coming in at sub 10% ownership is one of my favorite tournament plays. And then obviously we're still waiting on Kevin Huerter news, still waiting on Trey Lyles news. And so with that, I want to get a bit of an increase in Keegan Murray and Malik Monk into my lineups. And I would like to get a little bit of Terrence Davis in there as well, but I don't actually think we even have him in the player pool right now.
Terrence Davis not in the player pool? Is he projected to play 0 minutes? I guess that's
He
the
is-
assumption
he
that
is
Herter
when
plays.
Herters and Lyles are in, but I kind of would like him just in there with a couple minutes so I can adjust that to get to him just in case,
Well, you can go. I mean, you know how to do this, I assume. But if you go to like,
I don't know how to import a player who's not there, so maybe what you should teach me for all the people at home.
I actually do know how to do this. Yeah, there's a button that says if you go on Lineup HQ, there's a button that says excluded. Mine says 0. I've excluded nobody. Injured, and then right next to that it says hide unprojected, and there's a check mark. Just uncheck hide unprojected, right? And you can, like, if you want to manual, first of all, then you'd have all the guys unprojected. I don't do that. I would give like a projection of Davis to 1, give him like 1 point, and then
you switch.
Yeah, you flip it back, and all the unprojected guys are gone again, and you have Davis in your pool. Get any projection you want. If you
It's
like,
a veteran move right there. I like it.
Yeah, look at me showing you how to do lineup HQ. How about that?
That was a trick I didn't know. I like that.
Yeah, and like again, if you're just going to say give me 15 to 20% of Davis, you don't have to get the projection you give him doesn't matter. Or if you want to give him like a real projection, they will actually drop in lineups. Again, that's up to you, depending on how. I don't know what you prefer as far as your method of making that work. Questions here that popping up.
No,
in chat.
the crunch time crew's here, so we can take it over to these guys now. But that is a good one because I do want to just put them into like 3 to 5% of lineups in case Herter and Lyles are out again.
True North in chat says, TJ, there's some good YouTube videos on how to use Lineup HQ. Yes, there is. Yeah, are you aware of RotoGrinders on YouTube? You keep telling people to like, subscribe. Have you subscribed to the RotoGrinders channel? Because maybe you're not aware that these shows exist.
I sure am. I definitely do note that. I've never had to. I've never actually considered needing to consider playing an unprojected player before, so haven't run into that issue. But we got Şengün out, so it's Tari Eason and the rest of the Houston Big season.
I was really excited to not play Şengün tonight. I thought he was a terrible play. Now, of course, he's not going to get played at all. Jalen Green on track to play is the update with his thigh. News dropping as the crunch time crew is coming in here. You got Andy Means, you got Kevin Roth, we got Tim from Maine. We were talking accents earlier, Tim. Is there a distinct Maine accent? I don't think you have an accent. Maybe, are you a contrarian, or am I hearing a Maine accent? I just don't know it.
I have a little bit of one, but my parents are not from Maine, so that's probably why I don't have a huge Maine accent.
What is like the distinct, like, oh, that person's from Maine? Is there a certain phrase? Is there a certain way, like 1 or 2 words are said? Well, what's the good giveaway?
Dia. How are you, Dia?
So that's deer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. That's a big one. That's a big time Maine accent right there.
Were you picking up on that, Roth? I could not piece together until I got the context clues. I was not aware what he was going with Dia.
No, it took me forever until he used it in a sentence I didn't know, but I enjoyed it thoroughly.
I thought he was going for day in Spanish, personally.
I thought it was Duya.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. Distinct, the fun little conversation. Hardaway and Kyrie both in, so there's no real edge to playing Kyrie now, I don't think, because everybody's going to adjust. But that would have been interesting game theory thought process if he's ruled in after 7 o'clock. But Kyrie officially in, as is Hardaway. What's up, Roth? How was your weekend?
It was great. My tomatoes are tomatoing, so I get to, the tomatoes I'm growing. That's exciting. That's what passes as exciting when you're 38. But Andy Means, I need to talk to Means because I think he had a way, way cooler last few days. Am I wrong?
Oh, I had a great time on, what was that? That would have been Friday night. Yes, that was Friday night. I had a great time on Friday night, yeah.
Were you there for the upset, right? You were there to see Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know if you...
Up close and personal, yeah.
I mean, was the place just nuts? What was the atmosphere like when a 16 seed is beating a 1 seed? Was it crazy?
Yeah, the first 10 minutes of the game, there was I would say the stadium was maybe, I don't know, maybe half full, maybe 60% full. And as people for the second game started filling in, as FDU started showing that they were going to not go away. Yeah. It just slowly but surely just got really, really crazy in there. Because we were in the Memphis section and all the Memphis people were chanting or cheering for FDU. Everyone in that building who wasn't a Purdue fan was cheering for FDU. Yeah. So it was pretty wild.
That's awesome.
Andy, did you happen to hit up potentially the FanDuel Sportsbook? if you're in house, you're watching the game. There's no way you're going to March Madness and not making a wager and having a financial implication. I imagine, or maybe you just watch the basketball to enjoy the beauty of the game.
Oh, I was invested more so on the Memphis side, and yeah.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'll leave on a high note. TJ, you got anything else for the crunch time people?
No, let's get out of here. The news we've been waiting for has finally started to trickle through, so let's leave this for Ameansy and Tim to break down for us.
One last pitch there, TJ. You want to grab all those likes before we hand it off to Roth? You got anything for the people?
Yeah, we're supposed to have at least 100 before we hand it off to Roth, and we got 400 people watching, only 87 right now. We need 13 more people to hit the like button before the time that Roth asks for it next.
TJ, Dean, here comes Roth, here comes Andy. It's the Fanduel sponsor, Crunch Time. Tim as well. Go for it, Roth.
Appreciate it. Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed Crunch Time. It's sponsored by Fanduel, and I am joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. One, Mr. Andy Means. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good. Weird slate to get back in the swing of things this week. Sorry I missed everybody on Friday, but a lot of moving parts going on tonight.
Yeah, and you had a pretty good excuse. You literally got to see history, so we're gonna let it slide. We're gonna allow that. We're pumped to go through the slate. Like, there are some plays that are just screaming at me that are so good, and I don't even know if they're like cash plays or tournament plays. I don't even know if anybody else knows what I know, but I've got some bangers. So I'm excited to kind of go through this slate and see if your thoughts match up with mine. We got Tim as well coming in with some tournament takes. What up, Tim?
Yeah, not much, guys. This is a kind of a odd slate. There's a lot going on, and there's only 6 games, so it's a really, really interesting slate, I think, for cash games and for tournaments. So I'm interested to hear what Andy has to say for cash.
Okay, I am as well. Note that this is a FanDuel sponsored show. That's why it's free. That's why all we ask for is a little thumbs up button. You used to have to pay for the show. Now it's free. So hit that thumbs up button. Hopefully we can keep it free for you. And make sure you're signing up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. Offer not available in Massachusetts, because you still get a fantastic offer over there too. Bet 5. Get $200 in bonus bets. So multiple great things going on over there on FanDuel. And Means, let's kind of discuss this slate. I saw a comment in the YouTube saying, hey, could you give us a quick rundown of what the news is? And usually that's kind of how we dive into things anyway. So you want to start with that?
Yeah, I can do that. The big news today, I think that's shaped the slate the most, is Utah, because they're already without Clarkson and Sexton. Then they rolled out Markkanen. So I'll be talking about a lot of Utah guys. To recap the stuff that's just come in, we've been projecting Edwards out all day. I don't know why that seemed to be in the minority, but he's basically already been ruled out. But they said Jalen Noel is going to likely play, and he was ruled doubtful. And the reason that matters a little bit, he's missed the last 9 or 10 games, but he has 3K on DraftKings. And that dude, I'm pretty sure like his nickname is a walking bucket, and he is a walking bucket. But the fact that he's been out for so long makes me worry that they're not going to give him a lot of minutes. But at 3K, I mean, if this dude was like playing normalish minutes, he would like slide into the ant role basically as like basically the usage hog. But I'll see where we land on minutes. I think we were looking – last I saw the guys were talking about like 18 or 19, so I want to see where he lands compared to all these other people. The Torian Prince projection will probably come down a little bit because Noel's in. That's Minnesota. And we're still waiting on Gobert. He's questionable, but he's been questionable for a while. I say the same thing every time. Lately, he's been playing through the Q tags. But if you remember, there was a slate maybe a month ago or so ago where he was playing through Q tags like 6 games straight, and then he got rolled out on like the 7th. And then Naz Reid scored like 50 DraftKings points at like 4K. So like we always got to be at least have it in the back of our minds. Memphis waiting on Jaren Jackson because they're still without Ja, they're still without Brandon Clark, they're still without Adams. That would, if Jaren's out, that would leave him with a pretty thin front court. And I would be very, very interested in Santi Aldama, especially on DraftKings where he's like 3.8, I think. He would probably step in the starting lineup. Just got the Houston stuff as we were coming on the show. Şengün out, Green in, apparently. That is, I'm looking at all the, and then the late stuff with Lyles and Herter. that would be the only other two things that we are really waiting on. Tim, did I miss anything that Looney, but like big whoop, kind of maybe Kuminga a little bit, but
is the Şengün news, is that like game changing? Like, okay, you're definitely playing Eason, or there's definitely going to be value. I mean, he does a lot for that team when they let him play.
Yeah, I want to see where Eason lands. I think Eason's going to project really well, and this should favor him going against, and if Looney's out, even better for Eason, because that means less minutes theoretically for Garuba to match up against Looney. Mm-hmm. So that matters a little bit, but just in general with how much the Warriors like to go small, I think Eason's going to project pretty well when this all gets updated.
Eason was already projecting decently anyway, and that was before Şengün was ruled out. So I think he's going to really, really pop in our projections. He's going to be very popular tonight.
Okay. Well, let's dive into it. Means we like to kick things off a little FanDuel cash build. So walk us through what we're doing position by position over there.
Yeah, sure. At point guard, I have two pretty clear plays I like with a cheapish guy and an expensive guy. Cheapish would be Tyus Jones at 6'6". Like, he's averaged, I think, 36 or 37 FanDuel points per game with Ja out. So this is just too cheap of a price tag. And Dallas is a much better matchup post-Kyrie trade than they were pre-Kyrie trade. So that's too cheap of a price tag for him. And then Rozier up top at 8.4 is probably my favorite spend up. Kyrie probably right behind him at 9.7. I do prefer the savings, but Kyrie, no Luka, so that's a pretty good price tag. Secondary stuff at point guard probably would be Chris Dunn at 5'6", Andrew Nembhard at 5'9". That is who I would be looking at as primary plays. Over at shooting guard, I really like THT. No Marketing, no Clarkson, no Sexton. His per minute production in like 300, I think it was either 233 or 300 to 300 minute sample. I forget which, but he's at like 1.25 FanDuel points per minute. Just gradual increases in usage rate, assist rate, rebound rate. That's a really good per minute production we're projecting him for low 30s minutes. I think I wouldn't be expecting that much, just because when I was looking at some of the other stuff, like his shooting efficiency and his turnover rate, those were probably probably a little above his head on that. Like his shooting efficiency went up and his turnover rate went down. When you take on more responsibility, when you have the ball in your hands more, those things should go the other way. Your shooting usually gets a little worse efficiency wise, and you usually turn the ball over more. So that's why we're not projecting that much of a per minute thing, but he's still just going to have the ball in his hands a ton. So he's the preferred option at shooting guard, and he has small forward eligibility, as does Kelly Oubre at 7'6". I just like this game in general, more so the Charlotte side of it. Those are my two primary plays at shooting guard. Then I would mix in some Desmond Bane there. I already mentioned Rozier, who has point guard, shooting guard. I mentioned Kyrie, who has point guard, shooting guard. That's generally what I'm trying to keep it at shooting guard there on FanDuel. Small forward, mentioned a handful of these guys already, 3 of them, in fact. Working from the top down, Bane, Oubre, THD, all those guys are here. All those guys are great. One guy I didn't mention at shooting guard that I suppose should be discussed here is Gordon Hayward at 6'3". He's fine. Not thrilled to ever play Gordon Hayward. I think it's like the old adage, like people say a lot of times about guys that burn him. Like, you want to play him when he's not chalky, and you don't want to play him when he's chalky. It looks like he's only 19%, so take that for what it's worth. But at the very least, like, good leverage playoffs, some chalkier teammates. There's some other stuff that's maybe last piece sort of things, like Harrison Barnes at 5'1", Fontecchio, who we'll talk about on DK. He's 4.7 on FanDuel, a little cheaper on DK. But and then Eason's 5K, so he's going to be probably one of the better cheap plays here. At small forward, he's only small forward on FanDuel, and like he's like right there, like Mathurin, who's 5'1". They rolled Duarte out. This is his first game back in maybe 6 games or so. Definitely prefer Eason to Duarte and Harrison Barnes and Fontecchio in that group. So that's small forward. Power forward, I definitely like the Olynyk and the PJ Washington tier here. I have Olynyk tagged. You can easily make the case that should be Washington. I like both. Trying trying to think here. Spend ups, Julius Randle at 9.4, Sabonis at 10.7. And then kind of in the middle of all that, maybe not actually not in the middle of that, below all that, the cheaper guys I was talking about. I like Xavier Tillman. His projection's only going to go up if Triple J's rolled out, and he's been playing great with no Adams filling in that role perfectly. So I like him at 5.5. I think he's, despite like a pretty negative RG value in our projections, I think he's still a really, really good cash game play if you need it. But you're probably playing Olynyk in Washington instead of him, so you probably don't need it, but wanted to mention his name. And then center, Olynyk and PJ Washington have that there. There's a good 7K range with like Miles Turner at 7.7, Gobert at 7.8. There's one, Kessler at 7.9. That was another one I wanted to mention. And then obviously, like, I'm not going to tell anyone to not play Embiid the way he's going lately. We just got Timberwolves news, Gobert, Reed.
Everybody's in. Everybody's in. Yeah.
I was going to mention like Nick Richards, but you're not playing him in cash games, but I do like him in general tonight. If you're not playing, it's basically like you're probably playing one of PJ Washington or Olynyk here or one of those 7K guys.
Okay, very good. Let's talk tournament builds now. We got TastefulTides, aka Tim. Man, I just love this slate. Tell me what your plan is.
Yeah, so if I'm making multiple teams tonight, I would definitely lean into some game stacks. It's only a 6-game slate. We have some really, really nice games that we can get into, whether it be Charlotte, Indy, Golden State, Houston, or Sacramento, Utah. Those would be my 3 favorite games. I would really like to get aggressive when I'm building some game stacks tonight. Like if I'm in a 20 max setting or something like that, I would be heavy on game stacks this evening. A couple point guards that I'm really, really heavy on and I can't really quite decide on, but for single entry is Steph Curry and Kyrie Irving. I think Curry probably has the higher ceiling, whereas Irving probably has a better floor. Mm-hmm. So for larger field tournaments, like I'm probably going to go Curry. If I'm kind of in like a smaller field, lower risk type single entry contest, I might go Kyrie.
I assume there's a massive ownership difference between the two of them, right? Like a lot more people playing Kyrie.
Kyrie's 20 right now and Curry's 11. Mm-hmm. So that kind of stands with what I said. You know, if you're in a larger field, I'd go Curry. I'm fine if you want to eat the chalk with Tyus Jones. Chris Dunn, I'm a little bit nervous with. He's showing up at 17% right now on FanDuel. I'm not crazy. Like, I'm worried that he's going to get steamed up a little bit, and I'm not really crazy about playing him at like higher-ish ownership. I'd rather just pay the $1,000 for Tyus or go higher to guys like Curry or Irving. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then also, I think kind of a strange play in a great game. I don't know if he's going to come up with 20% ownership. Really, is TJ McConnell, just because his price is kind of getting up there, and I think this is a really good game environment for him to get some stocks on FanDuel, which is really, really valuable. So I think he's kind of he's a good tournament play. Moving to shooting guard. Talen Horton-Tucker, he's going to be the chalk. For the most part, I'd consider him good chalk. Like I'm definitely playing him in single entry. The issue that I think is the most important thing with Utah is building the appropriate rules if you're multi-entering this evening. Agbaji is not like a high usage player, so like you might want to like make a rule of like max 3, something like that, like Tucker, Olynyk, something like that. Like those are like your high usage guys. So like I don't want people to go too crazy with this Utah team because they're not, they're good plays, but like I don't want to get too many of them in my builds tonight. So I would just be kind of aware of how you're building your teams this evening.
Like you can't win a tournament if you've got a few 3K guys going for 20 something points. Like you need you need the value, but you need the raw point total.
Right. So I'm not like, as we talk about the slate, like I'm certainly not telling people that they can't play these guys. It's just, you just have to be you just have to, be conscious of how you're building your team in lineup HQ. So that's, rules this evening are going to be extremely important, and kind of paying attention to the rules that you make are going to be super, super, just super important.
Okay.
So, and then I like, Desmond Bane also. He's shooting guard, small forward. I think he's going to be not as owned as we have him at. We have him at 24%. I think that he's kind of failed enough times lately that it's a nice bounce back spot for him. I think that like this Charlotte game is going to get more ownership. So like Kelly Oubre, Meansy mentioned Gordon Hayward. I think they're really good plays. I was hoping that some of this news would wait until after lock, but now we're getting like all the Rockets news now. We're getting all the Minnesota news now. So we have more information. And so I think, getting into the Charlotte game is kind of a good idea. Because at first, like right before we got on the show, I was like, geez, I don't know how much of the Charlotte game I want to get into, because we didn't have the news for the later games. But now we have that news, and this is just an unbelievably good spot. Both of these teams are really bad defensively, and they played it at a fast pace. So I think you should, get a good exposure to the Charlotte team.
Okay. You want to talk some forward stuff?
Yeah. PJ Washington is, again, one of these Charlotte pieces. I think he's a fantastic play. Kelly Oubre, he's gonna be the who am I? Lost my spot here.
Kelly O.
Oh yeah, Kelly O. That's it. Kelly O is gonna be the chalk tonight, big time. And he's kind of like in that Tucker spot for me. Like I'm definitely playing him in single entry. He's definitely going to be in a staple play for me. I think he actually has like a really, really high ceiling. For my hot take and expert survey today, I said that he was going to go for 45 fantasy points, and I think that's completely within the realm of possible. Sabonis has power forward on FanDuel. I love the little bring back there with like a couple of Utah guys and then bringing you back with Sabonis. He's just been on fire lately, and I've been playing him every single slate, and he's not going to be like low owned, but he's not going to be super chalk tonight because he's getting pretty expensive. And I think that we should just keep playing him. I really like this Golden State game, so I really like getting to Draymond, and then Easton's going to be super chalky, but I say you play him anyway. So I think that's where I'm at with power forward and forward.
Okay, center.
I really like Meansy's Nick Richards call. I know that he mentioned him in survey earlier in the day. I really, really like that play. I have him on FanDuel right now, actually. I don't have him on my DK team, but I do have him on FanDuel. I just think this is a really good game environment, like I said. So I think that was a great call by Meansy. And then Joel Embiid, he has lost out on so many fantasy points this last couple of games because of blowouts. Mm-hmm. And I don't think tonight's going to be a blowout. So if you think that you're going to get the full complements of minutes from Embiid, I'm all about that. And he's a guy who's not going to come with a lot of ownership because he's kind of hard to get to. So he's only going to be about 10% owned. So I think he's a really, really strong tournament play today. And then Miles Turner would be my other kind of like a large field GPP play. Again, we haven't seen him get his full complement of minutes, but that's mostly been because of foul trouble and blowout. And so I think if this game can stay close, he has a really, really high ceiling at a pretty nice price tag.
That was one of my guys that I was excited about playing, so I'm glad you mentioned
that.
And
he's not going to be high owned.
Yeah, I love it. Miles Turner.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hey, I got this question in from Taylor, and he says, what about Jordan Poole at 6K, Kuminga 5.6? They seem like great plays for a blowout, and what they're playing Houston, so a blowout. I think Houston has been playing better, but still blowout certainly possible, if not likely. Is that just too thin on a slate with so many good plays for you, like playing for the blowout, or is that legit?
I'm okay with Poole anyway. Kuminga might get more run anyway if Looney sits, but I don't think Looney's going to sit. But Golden State can't blow at anybody on the road. So
that's true.
I wouldn't play it because of the blowout. I think if you want to take that risk, I think that's fine. I think Poole's fine because he's getting to be cheap enough where he's okay. So, but I wouldn't do it because of the blowout.
And I am seeing here in the chat, Looney is available, at least according to Derek in the chat. So
okay, I was expecting because Looney's got that big time games played streak or whatever. So he doesn't like to sit. He doesn't sit ever.
Gotcha. I approve of that. Okay, well, good stuff. Means let's talk some DK here because Jalen Brunson is too cheap. Christian Wood is too cheap. I'm sorry. You go ahead. You take it from here.
You Texas homer. I wanted to add one thing to what Tides just said about Embiid. I wanted to look at this specifically because I had that same sense of him getting like shorted on minutes just because of blowouts for the most part.
Yeah.
In the last 9 games, he sat out one game at the start of March against Miami. I think it was the front end of a back-to-back or maybe the back end, I forget. And the 9 games since, his FanDuel points per minute rate has been 1.78. That's like a lot. If you look at the whole season, Giannis is the leader at 1.68. So he's like a full 1/10 of a point per minute better than the best.
He wants to win.
Last night.
He wants to win the MVP. He wants to win the MVP.
Yeah.
I mean, he's legitimately trying to like fill his stat sheet, you know. And I think he's just lost a ton lately. So I love him.
And we will all look back to these 45 seconds as the reason his ownership just spiked tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight.
But it is one of those plays where like it seems so obvious. It just it just seems like definitely
he had 59 fantasy points in 3 quarters the last game or something. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah, he's waiting. Yeah, he's waiting to drop an 80 here. All right. Means let's talk about DK. Let's walk through it play by play. Maybe my plays are more tournament plays than cash, but you go ahead and tell me what I'm supposed to do.
They probably will be. I will not mention those 2 guys you named or Turner, probably. Sorry. But that's good. That's good.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I'll take it.
Those are like when you get past like the 3 or 4 guys are my favorites. Those are the ones you should be filtering in into like these other spots. Like that's where
that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm winning the tournament tonight. Let's go.
There we go. All right, so I'm going to since we're somewhat shortish on time, and I don't have a wide net of players here, anyways, on DK, just the way positional eligibility and pricing works out. So let's just go talk about guards in general on DK. Pretty clearly, the 2 I would say probably my 2 favorites are THT at 6'8" and Rozier at 7'9". If you're like spending. And then Oubre is probably 3rd. They're all in this, like a lot of the guys I like are in like 5 to 7K range. And those are 3 of them. Cheap stuff. I mentioned Noel off the top. He's 3K. If he plays 20 plus minutes, he's going to be awesome. I'm worried about that as a cash play tonight. You don't need it because we'll have some Jazz guys anyways. You don't need it, but he's viable. You can go so other cheap stuff would be Chris Dunn at 4.8. Akbaji probably not for me. Dennis Smith probably not for me. Yeah, I think you can just leave it at those main like 6-7K guys, and then Noel if you need it, but probably Dunn is the cheap play du jour for cash games. One guy I really like tonight is De'Aaron Fox, and like especially if you're building like single entry stuff and you have some Jazz guys, I really like playing Fox on the other side of that. I think Sabonis can be way more popular as a bring back just because of his recent game log. Fox saves you like 2K, maybe 2K plus down from Sabonis, and it's the same general tournament strategy line of thinking to get a guy on the other side of that. So I really like Fox. He's fine for all formats, in fact. So let's move it over to the forwards. Some similar guys who I obviously already mentioned because of the positional eligibility with THT and Oubre. But then you have Tari Eason at 4.4, one of the better cheap plays on the slate now. Then you have PJ Washington. He's power forward center. He's 5'8". Then you have Fontecchio. I mentioned him over on FanDuel. Much more viable on DK, where he's likely going to start at the 3 tonight, and he's fine. Not chalk I'd be extremely excited to play. I'm guessing Easton will be much more popular than he would have been. So we'll see what his ownership looks like after the Houston stuff gets updated.
It's updated.
The ownership is?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I
won't refresh.
Easton's 40%.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, what's Fontecchio
at? 25.
Yeah, okay. That's not as bad as what he was looking at earlier. I'm seeing 35 on the previous update, so a little more reasonable. Let's see. Olynyk at 5'7". Prince at 3'4" is fine. I would much rather play Eason, maybe even Fontecchio for that matter. So, yep, that's good. Let's go look at center real quick. Washington is probably the preferred option here. Trying to see if there's anyone who I really, really like in builds. It's like, I mean, Wood's in play, I suppose, Roth, but I wouldn't play him in cash.
We don't have Luka.
Play him in cash.
Like, Luka steals every rebound, and with Luka out, like, he actually gets rebounds like a big man.
It's more about minutes, though, man. Kid doesn't like him.
I know.
And Kyrie's playing, so I don't know.
Yeah, he never extends his minutes ever.
Yeah.
Well,
and
he
he
dropped 45 fantasy points the other day and shot 5 for 15. Like, he dropped 45 and had upside.
What was the game? There was like 2 or 3 games ago where we weren't even sure if, like, I think might have been last Wednesday, because I remember talking about him and being skittish on him. And he played like 19 minutes and had like 35 fantasy points or something, or at least at a certain point. I don't remember how it ended. He's fine, but like, I play Washington here. He's definitely the preferred option. And then if you're spinning up, you have Embiid and Sabonis. And good God, I don't even know who to tell you to play if you're picking between those two guys. Like, just if you're looking at anything about recent performance or recent form or how they're playing, like, these guys might be literally 2 of the freaking best players in the league in that fake category that we're talking about. So I don't know. I really like a balanced build personally of just hammering in 5, 6, 7K guys, 8K guys, and not dealing with the Noels of the world, not dealing with the Fontecchios of the world. But I mean, both routes are viable, but that's what I'd be looking at in general.
Okay, very good. Tim, let's talk tournament plays here. Can you do a Sabonis and Embiid? We've got the value for it, right?
I mean, you can, I guess, but I don't really like that. I don't like the value enough to do that. Like, that's one of the reasons why I don't like Embiid so much, because I'm not crazy about this Utah value.
I'm way too high on these Utah guys. Like, I've got the dude I can't pronounce. I guess there's multiple dudes I can't pronounce. I got them all. I guess it's not great.
Yeah, and I just want to say I love Ameansy's call and De'Aaron Fox. I was actually going to bring him up. He's showing up at 8% right now. He's 8,200 on DK. Like, the guy has not been good, but we know he's better than this. And when when the field is scared, like, that's when you should jump on. So, like, I really like that call. And I also really like Kevin Porter Jr. tonight. I think he's a really, really good pivot away from like a chalkier Terry Rozier. So I really like Kevin Porter tonight. But really, there's not any screaming differences for DK to FanDuel. I know we need to get to some questions. So there's not anything like really, really different. We've got the chalky Utah guys. Play them carefully and pay attention to the rest of your build. I wouldn't go crazy with them, but it's kind of the same thing. So I think we can get to questions if you want to, Roth.
Would you say I'm doing it wrong if I've got Fontecchio and the other cheap guy? What is it, Agbaji?
I think you are,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you asked that specific question. That's what I was trying to say when you're making your rules tonight. If you're multi-entering, like, I really wouldn't play those guys together. I could be wrong, but that's my pretty strong lean, is that I wouldn't play those guys together in like a large field setting.
Yeah, I just know like they're both gonna have flame emojis at the end of the night, and I'm gonna be like, "Oh, look at me!" But then it's just not gonna be enough.
I don't even know if they are though gonna have flame emojis.
Well,
play Noel instead of one of them.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pop in another lineup and get Noel in one of those.
Oh, and I
Noel could get 28 in like 18 minutes.
Yeah,
easily.
I also really like Mitchell Robinson. Tuttle brought him up in survey today, and I thought that was a really, really good call. He's only $4,500 on BK, so I think he's like a really, really good. There's a lot of really, really interesting centers tonight. I think center is a really pretty fun position for tournaments.
Okay, no Brunson.
I mean, you can. I mean, I don't want to hurt your. I don't want to hurt your feelings. He's not my favorite, but he can definitely get there.
He's going off. He's getting 50 plus easy. All right. That's my call. By the way, 50 points plus for both Brunson and 45 plus for Wood. Those are my official calls of the night. So lock it in. When that happens, tweet me or something. Tell me how smart I am. If it doesn't happen, just pretend I never said it. Let's get to some QQs. We got about 8 minutes until it's time. If it doesn't happen, remember, I'm just the weatherman. You shouldn't be listening. What the hell are you doing? Let's get into some of these QQs. I'm going to start, as always, in the RG Discord. That's where all the cool kids are hanging out. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, wow, how is this free? It's because we get likes, we get eyeballs, and our sponsor FanDuel likes that. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up for us so we get more eyeballs and we can try to keep this show free for as long as humanly possible. Let's Mike says, hey Roth, we got to give a shout out to Ameansy for the core plays note on Sabonis. It says Boner has risen to the occasion lately. I assume that was intentional.
No.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? No, purely accidental. Excellent stuff. Let's see. Oh, Ball says Wood minutes. Oh, are Wood minutes projected too low? 34 last game, 28 the game before that, and he was in foul trouble.
We got him at 20. We got him at 26. I think that's a good projection.
Yeah. The problem is I think he's going to play 33, but also there's a chance he just plays 16.
He could get the rug pulled out from under him.
Yes.
That's why he has a 26-minute projection.
That's it. Yeah. It's like
that's why it's really not. It's not too low. It's the right projection, I think.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's see. Steve-O, I love this question. Is Golden State going to go Coors Field tonight?
Yeah.
He says, I'm playing Rockets too. Am I crazy for this game stack in a DK GPP?
No,
Steph under 10K?
No. I love that. I love it.
Yeah, I do.
Awesome.
There are a lot of really good game stacks. Agreed there.
Yes, there are.
FanDuel single entry in GPP. Is max 4 exposure to Utah too much?
I think it is. I'd go 3 on FanDuel.
Yeah. Okay. Ball says, hey, means no Kyrie and DK Cash. Did you mention him?
He's fine, man. I honestly he has to score a lot to meet that price. He's fine. I'm not gonna tell you not to play him. I just prefer other guys a little more just because they're cheaper. So yeah, I'm not gonna tell you not to play him, buddy. It's not as obvious as it would seem just because he doesn't do a lot of the other stuff that 9 or 10K players do, he's got to score a lot.
Yeah. That is well said. FanDuel GPP, only 67 total entries. Do you like Kyrie, Kelly-O, and Richards? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, this is a 3v3. Kyrie, Kelly-O, and Richards, or Bane, McDaniels, Turner?
The first one.
Okay, very good. Jep says, Levine an okay play in a DK GPP? He actually said a good play, not an okay play. Is he a good play?
Yeah. Yes. He's fine. He's got a ceiling.
Okay. FanDuel GPP, can I play PJ and Richards together?
I say no.
Chinatown, DK raw points, Fox or Rozier?
I mean, it's really Rozier is the safer play, safer bet. But for ownership purposes, I'd say play Fox.
I like it. This is a good question. Usually, I don't care who's guarding anybody because the NBA is all about pick and rolls and team defense. But Steve-O says, do we care that Brooks is defending Kyrie tonight? Tim, is that a little bit of a markdown in your book?
It's a little bit, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll push back on that a little bit. I think, and not what Tim said, just that idea in general. sometimes it's better because coaches trust, like Dylan Brooks, my guy, like he's got Kyrie, put him on an island, and Kyrie's like, okay, I'm going to cook you now. So,
Right. Yeah.
so like it sometimes backfires when guys are just, that good of individual defenders, because good offense beats good defense when it's individual. Right. So,
and there's literally a pick and roll like every single possession.
Yeah.
So that they just make you switch.
That's why the NBA is so good, because like they just know that right away, and they will know which guys are switching and which guys are not switching. So they will call the guy up the screen for you who they know is going to switch. So now he doesn't have Dylan Brooks on him anymore.
Yeah, that will happen a lot tonight. Infinity Stuff in the YouTube chat says, hey, why is PJ Washington popping today? Why is PJ Wash popping?
I would say it's a combination of matchup. His price is a little depressed, especially on DK, and he's popping on DK if you look at just center too. Just because like center's a little weak on DK. So like he's up at the top of it mainly because of the other options aren't great.
Gotcha. We got about 3 minutes, so I'm going to put you all in the lightning round. Been a while since we've done that. Ball says Kelly O or PJ Washington. Means there's the aforementioned PJ Wash.
I think Linux is safer cash game play, honestly, but he doesn't have center eligibility, which is a nut punch on DraftKings.
Gotcha. Okay. Fanduel GPP. Mike says, hey, I love my lineup, Tim, but I need a power forward at 4,800 or less. Is Aldama or Roddy the way to go? Or do I go down to Rudy Gay?
Do Aldama and hope that JJJ sets. I mean, obviously you can always adjust. Just do somebody in the later games and hope you get some news.
Okay. Very good. Freya says, DK GPP, can you play Martin and Eason together?
I don't love it.
Okay. FanDuel Cash means a 2v2 for you coming up. And this is also a note. Condolences to your Blue Devils means. Sorry about that.
They don't play tonight?
No, you must have missed it. It didn't go great.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Sorry, bud. Yeah. Eason, KJ Martin, or Dunn and Harrison Barnes?
First one. Anything with Eason, I'm going to say Eason mostly.
Okay. FanDuel single entry, Tim. Slow-mo or Oubre?
Ooh. Oubre.
Slow-mo being Kyle Anderson, for those who don't know, just for what it's worth. DK single entry GPP. It's a 2v2. Tyus Jones and Levine, or Rozier and Clay?
Rozier Clay.
Ronnie says, is fading THT and DK Cash a mistake?
I think it is, yes.
Okay. All right. FanDuel Cash, Bain or Porter Jr.? I'm in the YouTube chat right now. Question from Darren means.
I would go Bain.
Adam says single entry. Mitch Rob is the last spot in DK. You mentioned Mitch Rob. You like it?
Yeah, I love it. Do it.
Very good. Very good. Flying Armbar says, not sure which way to go at center on FanDuel. Please advise. Tim, you got a couple names for him?
Nick Richards, definitely. You could go. Trying to think here. You could go. Well, you could go Kelly O. You could go Tillman, and then you could pay up to Embiid depending on the rest of your team, or Miles Turner. So Those are my guys.
Very good. Less than a minute until lock. Make sure you get those lineups in. Fontecchio or Alderman and DK single entry GPP. And with no news yet, Alderman might be way lower.
Yeah. I mean,
I would. I know that's a 10 question. I would risk Alderman, man. He's going to be a much better ceiling play than Fontecchio. JJJ's out.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Catching up everything. Okay. FanDuel single entry. Oh no, we got that one. We got that one as well. I think we have caught up on all the QQs just in time. Dean says, "Did I just hear a Sum 41 ringtone?" Is he hearing shit? I didn't
hear anything.
He does not have a Sum 41.
It's probably his own phone.
It's probably.
And he didn't even hear it on the show.
It's probably his house phone. Does he still have one of those?
Yeah.
Well, Dean has a house phone. And how did TJ get owned? TJ got owned earlier by getting out technologied by Dean.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? That was a bad look by TJ.
That's a rough scene, man. You don't want that. That's a tough scene. Hey, guess what? We have hit the lock, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, before you peace out of here, make sure to give us a thumbs up. That's all we want. Hit the thumbs up. There it is. It says it right there. Excellent stuff. We got a post-lock question. I'll throw it your way, Tim. DKGPP. I've already got Eason. You want Jabari Smith or Barrett?
Barrett.
Roth Window Cleaning Services. I'm not sure if this is a person who's just doing this. I'm not sure if this is a fellow Roth that actually has a window cleaning service, or if it's like, if he's calling me a window licker. I don't know what. But he says it was my humming. I may have been humming some 41.
You were?
I don't know. I didn't think I was, but I just randomly hum tunes sometimes.
Dean specifically said ringtone.
Yeah, I don't know. The most important question of the night, Roth. These are actually two of my favorite plays, ironically. BK says, Roth, do you prefer the wood or the boner? And that is a good way to end it. I think the wood. I'm all about the wood tonight. I think it's a 50-point night for the wood, and he's a lot cheaper. So
you guys are just juvenile.
You guys are such jokers. With that, we are going to get on out of here. So for Means, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew, who is always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.